Welcome to Future of Caregiving.
I filmed a 13-hour surgery for conjoined twins being separated. It's just amazing to see, and to be like this little tiny note on this amazing achievement is just really exciting.
I am so excited to be speaking with Joe Hallisey today. Joe is the Associate Director of Creative Services at Michigan Medicine. He is also a patient family advisor in the cystic fibrosis unit, inspired by personal connections with CF. Additionally, he serves as a patient and parent advocate and educator. Hi, I'm your host, Leah Warnke, and this is Future of Caregiving, where we explore the rapidly evolving world of caregiving. From technological advancements to demographic shifts, we'll delve into the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead for those who provide care and those who receive it. To start us off, can you tell us a bit about your role as the Associate Director of Creative Services? What does that entail, and how did you get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. So I work with the Creative Services team here at Michigan Medicine, and we handle everything from photo, video, graphic design, live streams, podcasting, animation for Michigan Medicine, which kind of encompasses both the clinical side of things, which is University of Michigan Health, and the research education side, which is University of Michigan Medical School. And so it's kind of a fun area where we kind of get to create fun content in many different facets of the in this academic medical center, right? So our work can go from patient stories to brochures about, a transplant program to a vertical video highlight reel of the white coat ceremony, which was just recently with our new med students coming in. And so that's kind of what the team does. My background before I became the associate director was in the video world. So I was the video producer for about a decade here at Michigan Medicine. And so getting to tell all sorts of fun patient stories and training videos and leadership messages and breaking news about new treatments or discoveries. I started though as a volunteer because I really wanted to make videos. I wanted to tell people stories, and I didn't want to work in the automotive industry, which is what a lot of people in Michigan do. They do car commercials, which is great, but I have no interest in cars, and I wanted to do storytelling. And so I kind of found myself just showing up until they told me I couldn't anymore. And that turned into an entry-level position, and then became a producer, and then a manager, and now an associate director.
Wow. Honestly, pretty great career advice. Just show up.
You just gotta show up sometimes.
You do, yeah.
That's the key.
That's what it takes. Well, it's really cool that you get to use your creative expertise, your videographer skills, all of these talents that you have accrued through the years to make content that's really impactful for a lot of people. And I'm curious, what are some unique challenges that you face when marketing and creating content in the healthcare services space compared to other industries?
Yeah, I mean, so when people start with our team, I always kind of say, we're not artists first. We have to take care of the patient, right? Now, we're not taking care of the patient and their families like the medical professionals are, but we're kind of entrusted with their story. We're kind of entrusted with their information. And so a lot of my job now is like making sure content that's being created doesn't have any patient health information in it, and kind of making sure that we're protecting what our patients are telling us, and telling their story the way that they want it to be told. And so that's always a huge challenge when we hire someone new or someone comes in and they're like, oh, I want to film in this waiting room, and it's like, that is filled with people who do not want to have a camera in their face. Or the rules on what you can show are a lot stricter than in any other industry, and so you have to kind of go in with that pun not intended, that lens of kind of like, what can I film in this environment, and where can I go? That's only gotten more difficult during COVID and the start of the pandemic, right? That was a big challenge of where can we be, what can we do to kind of tell these stories. The stories are important, but at the end of the day, it's patient safety is first. And so that's a huge issue. Another one is, a lot of people get caught up on analytics and how many views does something get. But in our industry, if I make a video that's marketing towards a certain very niche or rare condition or disease, those 5,000 views might be way more impactful than the 2 million views that we got about Pokemon Go in the hospital that was watched all over the world. Those views are great and we love that, but the 5,000 that we got for brachial plexus or something like that are just as important, maybe even more so, because you're really getting to that audience that needs to hear that. And so I think that sometimes can get lost in the shuffle, and it's something that we always need to keep focused on is who we're making this content for, who's our audience, and why we're doing it.
Yeah, it's certainly easy to get lost in the numbers of it all, but impact is not always about scale. Sometimes it's about the people that you're reaching on a level if they're not used to having content for them or whatever the reason. And certainly telling patient stories is so empowering. And as you said, it also needs to be done with careful thought and with tact, as we are respecting legality and people's privacy. But it is so empowering to tell these patient stories. So I'm interested in, what are some specific ways, how do you incorporate patient stories and experiences into your marketing strategy?
Yeah, I think people really resonate hearing from other people who are going through these sort of things. The medical professionals, the doctors, the nurses, the therapists, the techs, like, they can all speak to these things too, but hearing it firsthand to say that, like, oh, I identify with that person. This person is explaining my diagnosis exactly. And so that goes a long way, right, in terms of connecting with folks. And so we try and have it for any condition. And even if there is, a video or a brochure or some sort of design that is really focused on the physician, to still have some sort of element of that patient's voice or that patient's story in there to really connect with the audience. Now, there's certain types of video or photo or design that they really want to have it from the physician perspective or the nursing perspective or the researcher's perspective, but a lot of it too is to make sure that the patient's voice is heard, and it's represents our diverse community. So that's it's paramount in all of our strategies.
Yeah, accessibility and genuine voice is so important in what you're doing. And you spoke of the importance of people hearing from others who can identify with their situation, who have an understanding of what it's like to be experiencing the things that they are experiencing. And so I want to talk a little bit about the fact that you are a patient family advisor in the cystic fibroma unit due to your daughter's condition. Will you tell us a bit about what that experience has been like for you?
Yeah, so I have 3 kids, and my youngest, who is now 6, has cystic fibrosis. For those of you who don't know, it's a genetic disease affecting multiple parts of the body, but mostly the lungs, the digestive system, sinuses, and it's considered rare, and it's not fun. And we didn't know anything about it, and I was working here already when she was diagnosed about 12 days old, and I would spend time shocked at just how strong our patients and their families were when we tell their stories. And I couldn't believe the strength that they had. And it wasn't until I was in it myself to kind of be like, oh my gosh, this is what it's like. You're in this moment. And I kind of drew strength from those past experiences when my daughter was born, and kind of put a new light on what I could do with my skill set and how I could be an advocate for my daughter, but also help people who are in a similar position to her. And so we were asked to join the Cystic Fibrosis. My wife and I were asked to join a Cystic Fibrosis parent advisory board for the Mott Children's Hospital, which is part of Michigan Medicine. And that was an easy yes. And it's been a really great opportunity to kind of help be an advocate for the kids with CF, but also just kind of patients, in a larger scope. And it's kind of, I'd say, kind of shifted what my goals are for myself as a creative, as myself as a leader here in the healthcare field, is to do more patient education and to create content for patients to kind of help with their conditions, their diseases, the treatments they have to go through. It's an endless list. The list goes on forever. There's a million different things that we could tell that story on, and just trying to, go down that path in my role as both a parent and as a creative at Michigan Medicine.
Yeah, it's really incredible that you're able to combine your professional expertise with your personal experiences in a way that is so helpful to so many families going through situations like this. So you mentioned a number of advocacy and education initiatives that you've been a part of. Are there any examples of what those look like that have been particularly successful or not successful, that just would be kind of fun to share about?
Yeah, I think one of my most favorite one that we've done is, so when you have cystic fibrosis, you have a lot of medication and a lot of pills that you have to take before every meal. And just at the beginning of the day, there's just lots and lots of pills, even at an early age. And so when you're a baby or a little kid, you open the pills on a little spoonful of applesauce, like even at like 12 days old, and you feed them, right? But pretty quickly, you as a parent, you're like, oh my gosh, if my kid could actually take these pills, this would make my life infinitely easier. And so working with the other members of the parent advisory board, we thought, oh, well, this would be the first video we could tackle, is how to take a pill. Now, that is not an exclusive either for pediatrics or for cystic fibrosis. Many adults need to learn how to take a pill, and there are countless of conditions that patients need to learn to take pills at a young age. And so we had a young child. My daughter, she had been in a bunch of other videos, and so I was like, is there another kid who would want to do it? And at the time, I believe he was 3 years old. His name was Charlie, and his parents were on the board too, and they were like, yeah, Charlie takes a lot of pills and is awesome at it, and he's tiny, he's 3 years old, right? And so we made a video that just said how to take a pill, and it talked about the different ways to kind of talk to your kids about it, and kind of tricks to do it. And a lot of it involves candy and finding the size of the candy and working your way up to the pill size that you'll need to do. So like the cystic fibrosis pills are like Mike and Ike size, right? So you kind of start at like a nerd level, and then a M&M, and then the Mike and Ike, right, is the biggest one. And so working with the providers to kind of get that content together, and working with the kids, Charlie specifically, to kind of film it. We did it in about an hour, and he did amazing, and it was a total rock star, and it was really successful, and it has lots of views on YouTube now. It's at about I wish I would have checked right before I jumped down here, about 25,000 views. We also submitted it as a poster session for cystic fibrosis, the national conference this past year, about video education for patients, and what we kind of learned and how effective it can be. And the feedback, it's kind of hard. It's a little anecdotal, like, this helped a lot. It's not like when they're signing in, I learned to take this from this video. But we also had it converted into a few different languages. so that people in the community who spoke or understood different languages or even across the world could have help with this. So that's probably been the most successful. The recent one we did is also for an airway clearance. There's a lot of, you have to kind of, when they're really young with cystic fibrosis, you have to like have this little tiny mallet and you smack their chest in a bunch of different positions, and it can be really difficult. So we did a video with a respiratory therapist kind of describing the different positions and walking it through with about a year-old child who did not like it very much. But that's kind of the way it is. You have to kind of see how kids don't like this sometimes and watch a video to say, hey, the respiratory therapist said it was okay, when the child's kind of upset about this, but we're just trying to, do the best we can for the airway clearance. So those have been two of the more recent successes that we've had.
Yeah, and the authenticity is important, certainly. And Charlie sounds like a rock star for sure. Mm-hmm. Since you brought up translating into different languages to improve accessibility, I would love to know, in your experience, what are some effective strategies for marketing healthcare services to diverse audiences, including various age groups, cultures, socioeconomic statuses? What insights do you have there?
I think having a diverse team helps too, and a lot of different viewpoints, both in our creative team and just in communications in general, to kind of seek out those viewpoints. I think it's very easy if you have people who have the exact same lived experiences. You might not understand what some of the other communities need. A great example is I don't speak Spanish. I don't understand Spanish. I took a few classes of Spanish in high school, but I really don't know it. We connected with our translators in the hospital, interpreter services, and had one of the Spanish interpreters do an interview with one of the Spanish providers about COVID, right in the early onset of COVID, because people who speak Spanish needed to know about COVID just as much as people who spoke English, and we have a big Spanish community here, and so that video, that live stream, has like over 200,000 views, and it was just like, oh my gosh, of course we have a diverse community, we need to have diverse content, and so it's an ongoing struggle for myself as someone who doesn't speak another language, but finding the important topics and connecting with interpreter services and other people of different backgrounds to kind of express those things and kind of help create those content. There's luckily a lot of medical providers who are bilingual, trilingual, who can kind of both be the person on camera or create the content, and also be the expert. So it's a super important thing, and I hope to do more as we kind of move forward, as it's been super eye-opening to what we need to do. And then in terms of like accessibility, that's kind of an important topic for me. I kind of head up our accessibility council for the Department of Communication, and it's a lot of like understanding we're dealing with a lot of people who may have low vision or no vision, and making sure that our websites and our videos are captioned, have alt text. If we're creating a flyer for the eye center, that the font has to be bigger. I myself are colorblind, and so we go through a lot of accessibility concerns with our colors, the readability for both print and web. That's important no matter what industry you're in, but when you're in the health industry, you're in the medical field, you have to kind of make sure that you're doing these things.
Yeah, certainly in medical spaces, clarity and understanding between the person receiving the message and the person putting it out is of the highest importance. So it's really good to hear that your team incorporates a variety of experiences, a variety of voices, because really listening to this diverse background is what is needed to get across these diverse messages. So it sounds like you get to do a lot of really cool things, a lot of unique projects. You have the ability to use creative means to come up with, new ideas. And with all of that in mind, is there one favorite part of your job? Like, what brings you the most joy in the work that you do?
That's tough. I mean, I think it's kind of changed as I've moved more into like leadership management. Now it's seeing my team to be able to be successful. Right? They are way more creative than I am, and so I get a lot of joy kind of helping put them in a position to succeed, and kind of being that conduit of like, this is what someone's asking for, and this is how you can kind of help achieve that. I get a big kick out of that. I think that's really fun. But as a creator, I think just being this like small part of a giant journey is amazing, right? I do not have a medical degree. I do not. Everything I've learned about science and health and medicine has just been on the job training, and it's a joy, right? Like in the early days of the pandemic, I filmed maybe like a 13-hour surgery for conjoined twins being separated, and that was like amazing. Not only I went to got to meet the family and meet the twins beforehand, and then be the person in the room during the surgery and watching that happen. It's like kind of this magical moment. And then following up with the twins and the family months later, a year later, it's just amazing to see, and to be like this little tiny note on this amazing achievement is just really exciting. And you get to just see some really incredible things. And if the art that we're creating, the content that we're creating, if that can help somebody, that can connect somebody with a procedure that they were trying to get, or give someone hope, or teach someone how to do the stretches that they were actually supposed to do after they had their knee surgery, or get important research into the hands of the public in a fun way. I mean, I think that's the best part.
It is certainly so special that you get to be so ingrained in these moments that people are having and experiencing. And you mentioned, not having a medical degree, but you still clearly have such a powerful impact in the medical journeys of people. So as kind of a final thought to wrap us out, what advice do you have for marketing students who are interested in pursuing a career in healthcare? Any specific skills or knowledge that they should focus on developing?
Well, I think flexibility is a huge key in this industry, because your marketing plan, your video, your brochure is down on the list of importance to like patient safety and patient outcomes, right? And so you kind of have to be able to be flexible in the way you tell those stories sometimes. I mean, countless times I've either been shifted into this, you can't move from this tiny room, this is where you're going to do your filming from, or we can't use this, we can't use that, or the patient needs to reschedule, or something's going on and you have to be flexible. I mean, that is a huge key. I've seen a lot of people who struggle with that sometimes, just kind of like letting it roll with it, and sometimes on the fly understanding what you need to change. I think in any field you have to be a nice person. I think it's easy in the creative field to kind of run into egos, and that doesn't benefit anybody. It really doesn't, because if you have an ego and you're not listening to your team or your clients, you could easily put out something that you like and that literally no one else does. So you kind of have to be nice to people, and it goes a long way. And so that's cross industries. You could need anything.
Yeah.
And then I would say, like, find an internship really quick. If you're a student, see if it is something you like. Some people love it. Some people, it might not be for them. And so it can get heavy, right? Especially in COVID, right? I mean, COVID was a tough time for everybody, but even for communicators. And so, find out if it's the right place for you. It's amazing. You get to do a lot of great things. I constantly am impressed with the stories that come out of Michigan Medicine that we get to kind of be a part of, and I wouldn't change it for anything.
Wow, stellar advice. Joe, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your expertise and experiences with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate being able to chat with you, and hopefully this inspires somebody or helps someone understand what's going on,
Yeah.
or even to seek out content that exists, because there's lots of it out there.
Yeah, certainly. Well, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Future of Caregiving, brought to you by Careaya. We hope you've enjoyed this exploration into the world of caregiving and you've learned something new and valuable. If you want to stay up to date on all things caregiving, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Tune in every week as we release new episodes featuring exciting guests and powerful stories.